YouTube, how we doing there? Long Bottom Leafer smoking my 70677. Enjoying this beautiful weather we're having here in Virginia. And this is going to be one of my Tolkien talks. And this installment we're going to be covering something I find very fascinating, which is the creation of Tolkien's universe. And this is from the mythos of Tolkien, and it's mostly covered in the Silmarillion in a chapter called the Ainur. I think that's how you pronounce it. Roughly translated into the music of the Ainur. But I also want to draw some comparison as to where Tolkien drew some of his inspirations for the creation of Middle-earth, and we'll go into some of his Christian leanings and also some of his studies into the European mythological literature. So let's start off from the beginning. In the beginning there was nothing besides the One, and his name was Ainur Iluvatar. Now, Ainur Iluvatar possessed something called the sacred fire. And when I think of the sacred fire, or the what's it called? Unperishable flame, I think that it means life or consciousness, really. And some have likened it to just creation at all. But Ainur Iluvatar has the sole ability to bring things to life, to create things. Once he puts his will in motion, that's all that there is. And out of Ainur Iluvatar, he created these beings called the Ainur. Now the Ainur are described as kind of manifestations of Ainur Iluvatar's mind. And he gave to them a great theme of music. And when the Ainur sang this music, they began to understand the other parts of Ainur Iluvatar's mind. And they grew in their knowledge and wisdom. As they kept on singing, they created beautiful harmonies. And there was one voice that was kind of really just creating discord in this beautiful melody. And this part was sang by a being known as Melkor. Now Melkor's part was very strong, it came across very mighty, and Ainur Iluvatar took note of this. Now as they keep on going through the theme, Ainur Iluvatar stops, and he starts another theme. So another theme starts, and it begins beautifully again, very harmonious, beautiful tones in the voices. But once again a discord begins. And then another theme begins. And once again the same thing happens. Melkor's discord is finally not really noticed but addressed by Ainur Iluvatar, and he says to the Ainur that the music was great, that it was beautiful, but among them Melkor is the mightiest. And the discord that Melkor was creating in the music was his own doing. He wished to create his own music. He wished to be his own master, really, not really follow the theme that Ainur Iluvatar had given to the Ainur. Now once again, the Ainur are given the ability to see, not really to see, but to perceive what music that they were creating. And the vision that they were given was of Arda. Now Arda is what is the whole universe of Middle-earth and Tolkien's universe, really. Middle Earth is really like a subcontinent in Tolkien's universe, because there's also the Undying Lands, and then we have the universe and galaxy around that, the cosmos. The great stars, and those don't reside outside of the void where the Ainur are currently at. So they are given this vision of what Arda would be like from this music that they sing. And after being given this vision, Eru Iluvatar then says, Aya. And Aya means be. So he brought into being their music. He gave it the sacred fire, so to speak. And the Ainur noticed in the distance a bright light. And they were drawn to this light. And they knew that it was their own creation, brought through the will of Eru Iluvatar. So, some of them descend unto Arda. Now, it's important to keep in mind that there were some ground rules laid down by Iluvatar about when they descended down into Arda. Once they descended down into this universe, they could no longer reside in the void. They would be bound to that world, and their powers would be bound to that world. But it's kind of hard to grasp that idea, because really Eru Iluvatar gave them the abilities of parts of his own mind, but he's kind of restraining them onto Arda. So the ones that descended down onto Arda are known as the Valar. They're the ones that we're most familiar with. They're the ones that resided in the Undying Lands. Now, one second, let me tamp this. Now, once the Valar descended down into Arda, they realized that their vision really hasn't come to pass completely. The grandiose landscapes and all that weren't really present. They were really left up to their own forming. And the Valar went down and they created their own land. They morphed from the materials given to them by Eru. To create this sustainable vision. So through their workings, and they were able to create, grandiose landscapes, beautiful flowers and plants and trees. But Melkor decided that he wanted to put his discord into Arda and create, very, sharp mountains and fire and things of that nature, just chaotic things. But he also wished to have Arda for his own. And he claimed to the Ainur that Arda was his own. That was going to be his kingdom. And Manwë and Aule and Ulmo, the Valar, and the rest of the Valar all told him that, none has labored less than he. And so it is just as much their right to rain down in Arda as it is his. And that really started the strife of what happens down in Middle Earth. I'm not going to go into the rest of it because I'm already 9 minutes into the video, but this is really the beginnings of the creation story of the cosmos. And from there we have, Eru Iluvatar's children. We have the elves, who were the firstborn, and we have the men, who were the followers. And to the elves he gave, the undying life. They were the firstborn. And then to the men he gave the freedom to do what they will. He gave them the gift of death and the afterlife. Not much is said about the afterlife, but, the Valar and Eru Iluvatar do not see it as death as a bad thing, so we do know there is some type of afterlife for men. If you go into my Tolkien Talks videos, you can see that there was great strife over you know, the elves' gifts versus the men's gifts from Iluvatar, and especially with Numenor and the Numenorians. You know, they wanted the same gift as the elves. They wanted to be undying, but that simply wasn't in their will from Eru Iluvatar. But I do want to kind of draw some comparisons between a few things. This mythology story is it's unlike anything else because it synthesizes a few different ideals within mythology or theology. Period. The first being Tolkien's own Catholic upbringing. You know, Tolkien believed, you know, he was a monotheist. But it's interesting how he gave these beings called Ainur almost as gods on Arda, the universe. They're like gods of the universe, and they have their own chieftain and, you know, their own, not really head god, but kind of unofficial. Hey, this is the guy you want to pay attention to. And there's also this Luciferian archetype of this with what's his face, Melkor, and Melkor wants to do his own thing. So there's different things to take in, but it is a created world, which really differs from where Tolkien draws from Germanic mythology. In Germanic mythology, the Earth is, or the universe is really created from two realms, one called Muspelheim and the other one called Niflheimer. And Niflheimer and Muspelheimer come together out of chaos, and they create the 9 realms and Yggdrasil, and you know, out of the chaos comes the cosmos, and also comes the Aesir and the Vanir, the gods. But this isn't how Tolkien's mythos starts. His mythos starts with a creator and an all-knowing, omniscient God. And in Germanic mythology or Celtic mythology, this doesn't exist. So he definitely draws this from the Abrahamic religions and from Yahweh. So I find it interesting, his synthesizing, because, you know, we had these multiple gods down on Earth who are not omniscient, but they're very wise beings, or on Arda. But yet there's also a superior being who watches over, and all things manifest from him. And I've talked to modern pagans and heathens that kind of embrace this idea that especially the idea of a sacred fire. I've talked to people who embrace the idea of a divine essence, and what the Germanic peoples and the Celtic peoples and the African peoples or the Ankh peoples saw was different faces of the divine essence. Some may have been interpreting the same God, such as, you know, Thor or Perun, or they can be, you know, Thor was the god of thunder to the Germanic peoples, and Perun was the god of thunder to the Slavic peoples. We can see them drawing similar influences, and also to the Sami people in you know, the Arctic regions of Scandinavia and Russia. And so it's very interesting how these people draw it, that, you know, the divine influence is seen by different faces or completely foreign parts. And I think that's very interesting in comparison to Tolkien's sacred fire. So, just a few thoughts, just a few comparisons. Let me know what you think about everything. It's a very interesting topic to discuss. It's not a very heated topic, you know. No one really believes in Tolkien's mythos to be true because it's a work of fiction. So we can discuss it with, you know, pretty much utter scrutiny. Not as a literary work, but as a theological work. So, anyways, guys, it's been a long Bomb Leafer. I'm glad to be back. I'm sorry that it took a little bit longer than I expected to get another video out, but I'm going to try to get them out more frequently. Anyways, guys, it's been a long Bomb Leafer. I'm signing out. Peace.